Darren DeVries is cooking. The West Virginia University staff, just when we all thought all was lost, nothing was happening, no movement, nothing. Oh my God, they can't get anybody. That seemed to be a theme that was starting to grow a little bit. Boom, boom, two straight days. Both enormous needs for the team. The nation's number one ranked point guard in the transfer portal commits to West Virginia. We have somebody coming on, the owner of Pistols Guys, Marshall Scott, really, really great Oklahoma State fan / writer for them. He's here with us today. How we doing, Marshall?
I'm not too bad. Thank you guys for having me.
So we were talking before you came on just now about Javon Small, and you have some pretty intricate knowledge of that player. Researching him yesterday, he's a 3-level scorer. He really does everything well, nothing bad that I can see. But you have more knowledge of him than I do. What's your take?
Yeah, he was fantastic for Oklahoma State this past season. Obviously, just a 1-year deal. That's kind of the way of the portal these days. But comes in from East Carolina and was kind of OSU's first really true point guard since Cade. And that was a lot of hefty expectations for a guy to be the first guy since number 1 pick. Yeah. But he came in. He's I guess this reference is more relevant in the Oklahoma area, but he's sort of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander-esque in that he kind of plays at his own pace. In modern basketball, everybody's athletic, everybody's fast, but his ability to kind of control pace, control tempo, look for those cross-court passes, that was all remarkable. Good three-point shooter. Honestly, got better as the year went on, I think. And could do it off the dribble as well, which is a rarity for college basketball. So really, really outstanding player. I know that there were a lot of OSU fans that wanted him back.
Yeah, I was actually talking to another YouTube creator earlier today through DMs that I have a relationship with, and was asking him his opinion, and he was like, he wasn't happy that he lost him. He said he was happy for Jaden Bray, but he's not happy about this one. So that goes to show me how much the OSU fans loved him. Was there an expectation because he was in the portal so long that he may decide to withdraw and come back? Was that realistic?
Well, it was a little weird with him. So whenever Boynton had gotten fired, it initially came out that he was entering the portal, and then he comes out and tweets that he's not officially in the portal. That lasted for a while. Steve Lutz gets hired, like a week passes, and then he finally does actually go into the portal. So that was a little funky. Never really got the true thought that he was coming back. Really didn't expect West Virginia until like the last couple of days. He'd taken visits to Miami and to Ole Miss, and that was kind of seeming like it'd be one of those two options. But I think OSU fans were holding out more hope for Brandon Garrison, who recently went to Kentucky, than maybe Javon Small, just because Small from Indiana didn't have any ties here. But a lot of people would have gladly taken him back. I just don't know that there was many expectations of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So do you think there was a nasty breakup somewhere that we just don't know about? Or do you think it's just the way the landscape, the way things are, guys are going to go chase the bag? There's uncertainty with the new coach and Lutz coming in. Probably don't know. When a new coach comes in, you never know how donors are going to react to that. Maybe there was uncertainty as to what he might get, or maybe he wanted to test the market, Do you think the Nelson Hernandez play made a big deal here? Because I know he was only there for a year, and I reached out to you whenever we hired him. He said, really, you didn't get a chance to know him very well. He's a personable guy, curious to know your opinion on that.
Yeah, I don't think there was any bad breakup. It just kind of made sense with the coaching change that pretty much the entire roster hopped in the portal. So, and that's just also, even if a coaching change didn't happen, that's just kind of college athletics these days. But the Hernandez thing, that could be an interesting thing. Obviously, they both spent last year here, so maybe I don't know a ton about what their relationship was like off the court. Like I said, I don't know Hernandez all that well. He wouldn't put up in front of us media very often, but. It certainly doesn't hurt, I'd imagine, to have at least some point of contact with Small's camp.
Another thing that was mentioned to me by someone is that, maybe potentially style of play with the new coach. the way he runs offense? Do you think, and maybe that Small felt like that wasn't a fit for him? Do you think that's a possibility?
It could be. Lutz he wants to play fast. His Western Kentucky squad was, I believe, in Ken Palm's adjusted tempo, the number one team in the country last year. Most players, I'd assume, especially at the college level, are okay with playing fast. So I don't know that it was a big deterrent, but you know, some of his passing is really done well in the half court sets and things along that nature. So I could see him maybe giving Lutz a chance and just maybe not necessarily thinking it was a good fit. But again, that's just all kind of speculative as well.
Right.
What kind of defender is this guy? You know, the tape I've watched, he looks to be good, you know, and really gets a lot of hands on balls through the lane, really active. He gets steals. You know, he seems like maybe that's why the Gilgeous-Alexander comparison was being made there, because he's obviously not only a great, credible offensive player, but one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you want Small to necessarily be your stopper, your number one defender, but with as many good things as he does on the offensive end, that's okay. But yeah, he is solid. He's very advantageous, I guess, when it comes to steals. Understands passing lanes and things like that. Understands, you know, what the opposing point guard's trying to do, because he's so good at manipulating things. So you know, I'd say his offense stands out more than his defense, but he's more than capable on the defensive end.
Guys, don't forget to go over to Pistols, guys. They've got a really great thing going over there. Marshall is the owner of that. Show you that site really quick while we're chilling here. They do a really good job over there. So this is it's called Pistols Firing at Pistols Guys. As you can see, they've got quite a large following and do a really good job. This is Marshall Scott. This is who we're talking to, who obviously has a nice page himself. But anything you know, there's a lot of Big 12 stuff on this, especially on the Pistols Firing site or page. But also just anything Oklahoma State related you want, it's here. You know, and you know, in my opinion, Oklahoma State is one of the funner teams outside of West Virginia to follow in the Big 12, just because they're such a successful university, in my opinion, and just you got Gundy, and they're just, you know, they've always got some characters to follow around there. So I really do like going over there and checking on that page every now and then.
Thank you for that, Paul. So everybody go check out Marshall's stuff. And real quick, before we get too far along in the show, we'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to the person or the company that makes this possible for us, and that's Dutch Miller Automotive. We got to give them a shout out real quick. So give us about 40 seconds, guys, and we will be right back.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in person today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
So, Marshall, let's if it's okay with Paul, I'm going to move over to another topic here. We can always come. We like to jump around on this show anyway. If you've watched enough of our stuff, but anyway, what is the feeling around Steve Lutz as the new coach at Oklahoma State? Is everyone happy with the hire? Is it a wait and see? What's kind of the temperature of the fan base?
Yeah, I think overall really positive response. It kind of took a while. They fired Boynton, I think, on the 18th and didn't hire Lutz until the 1st, March 18th and April 1st. But I think everybody's excited. Obviously, you know, fast-paced play. It's kind of a defense first thing, which is a big deal here in Stillwater, going back to Henry Iba. So yeah, overall, I think people are ready to be excited for it. The issue right now is they only got 7 guys on the roster. So that's 6 scholarships to fill. So it's kind of a wait and see in that aspect of it. But I think there's a kind of a renewed energy around the program that was much needed.
Right. Makes sense.
So, you talk about some of the guys you guys have brought in. You got the kid from UCF, Avery, Texas Tech, Jennings, and then Arturo Dean, which that's a good signing. I love the kid out of FIU. How do you feel they're building this class so far? And who's your favorite player? Who do you like that they've signed so far?
Yeah, I think Dean's probably a good shout just because it's a little unique. He's, I think, listed at 5'11". If you guys know like I
He's
do,
explosive, man.
Yeah, but there's not gonna, if he's listed at 5'11", probably not actually 5'11".
Yeah.
Maybe take a couple inches off that. But I think that's just exciting based on that fact and that he led the NCAA in steals last year. So kind of defense first on that. Some kind of deficiencies in the roster right now. They don't really have a big man. Robert Jennings, the Texas Tech transfer, is kind of the biggest guy right now. He's 6'7", 230, I think. So definitely need something there in the front court, and then probably needs a little bit of scoring. Bryce Thompson returns after he got injured midway through last year. He's got a year of eligibility left. He's a scorer. But kind of those other guys that they've got, while they can score, it's not necessarily something that they're called upon to do a ton. So I think needs still are size and a little bit of scoring, but I think they've done a good job of getting guys that fit Lutz's scheme in terms of being able to run, being athletic, defending. But yeah, maybe need a couple more bucket getters and some big men.
I see some of the comments you guys are making there about the possible commit, and I've been working the phone all day about this. There's a couple names out there that that I just can't mention at the moment. But if it's one of the 2 guys that I'm hearing, yes, it would be an absolute banger of a commit. I wish I could say more at the moment, but I'm being asked not to, so we'll see.
Makes sense.
I think it's because we're trying to. I try to limit misinformation, because sometimes you don't know where something starts, or if the first source is good, and then sometimes the good source can get a bad thing, and it just gets turned around sometimes. Even with my good sources, we have to figure it out before we really go do anything, But I'm not saying that you may hear it from somebody completely different, Evan. So I'm just saying in my situation.
But thanks for the comment. We always, that's sometimes the people in the audience know more than we do, and sometimes they talk to people and have sources too. So we appreciate the input and the information. What are the expectations for Oklahoma State basketball coming up this season, Marshall?
That's kind of tough to say just because it's
7 guys on the roster.
Yeah, 7 guys on the roster, and it seems just like year after year after year lately, there's been such a hit to the program. It kind of started like right as Boynton was hired, then the FBI stuff comes in. They are like just now getting out of all that mess. This is the first year that they'll be able to have a full 13 scholarships available. So expectations around Stillwater in basketball, going back to obviously Iba, but even Eddie Sutton are very high. Maybe at this point, maybe a little too high for what's possible. But Steve Lutz is he's 1 year in Western Kentucky, took the Hilltoppers to the NCAA tournament, 2 years at A&M Corpus Christi, took them to the tournament both years. So I think there's room for optimism, but I think the fan base as a whole right now is a little tentative to really push the pedal to the metal.
Makes sense. Go ahead, Paul.
On a football note, I don't think I've ever got you to talk about. Maybe I reached out whenever it happened. Curious to know what you think about Bray as a receiver. And was everybody excited about him possibly coming back to Oklahoma State this year before he left?
Yeah, I think not a ton of guys from the football program entered the portal this year, but I think Bray was the one that the fan base is like, oh darn, like didn't really want him to go. Has struggled with injuries. That's kind of been his Achilles heel to this point, but is just so athletic, is so long. Even back to his true freshman season in 2021, he was making plays in the Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame, and I believe of his class. The Green Twins were in that class, and maybe another receiver as well. And he was kind of like the least recruited of that whole bunch. He was more so a basketball player coming out of Norman. But Casey Dunn, saw what he saw in him, and kind of instant impact. Like right whenever he got on campus, everybody was already talking about him a little bit. So
Yeah.
Not a ton of guys left from last season, but I think that was the one that the fan base kind of it hurt the most. I think they're still pretty optimistic of just what they've got in the receiving room, but I think Jaden Bray, so long as he can stay healthy, he's an absolute weapon.
How does the Cowboys feel about their chances in the league this year? You guys are loaded, and as are other teams.
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say that you've got a top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 running back. I won't go that far on the quarterback. I think Bowman is serviceable, though.
Mm-hmm.
How you feel about it, man? What's the offensive line looking like? Obviously, you guys are good at skill positions, running back, and you're going to be in the third year or second year of a new D coordinator, right?
Yeah,
second. That's what I thought. So what's the feeling about all that?
Yeah, I think expectations for the football program right now are just kind of sky high based on, getting back to the Big 12 title game last year, finishing with 10 wins, even after a horrible start where you lose to South Alabama, you lose to Iowa State, to kind of turn around and have the year that they had. But offensive line, they bring back like six-year seniors, I believe. And then they brought in Isaiah Glass, I believe is how it's pronounced, from Arizona State. He was a starter out there. They bring him in as well. So it should be at worst, equal to what it was last year up front. And then obviously Ollie Gordon. You got Brendan Presley. You got Dejon Stribling, who got injured early into last year, but he was showing real good flashes early. Defensively, they're going to make a couple of tweaks. Brian Nardo came in with a 3-3-5. They're still going to run that, but they're also going to do a little bit more 4 down front to get more pressure on the quarterback, because that was kind of an area they struggled with last year. But kind of just release Colin Oliver off the edge, because that's what he does so well. So going to be a little bit of tweaks on the defensive end, but for the most part, this is the same team that they had all of last season.
Wow. And, what really surprises me the most is just the retention. I think Gundy realizes just as well as most other Big 12 teams, the way for us to compete is retention. West Virginia did the same thing. And so I just wanted to ask you real quick before I pass it back over to Coos, how do you feel about this West Virginia team? When you look at it, West Virginia was a fourth quarter collapse against you guys. We could have won that game. I think Ollie beat us because we were worn down. We had a guy go down. Also, we just misfit a couple of those runs. We just misfit. It happens. And then obviously the Hail Mary away from being an 11-win team last year. We returned everybody. We lost we lose 2, maybe 3 players of consequence, and have added a ton. Power 5 talent at the corner spot too. We really feel good about it. It's the best thing we felt about in close to 10 years, so just curious how, on your end of the U.S., are we in the peripheral for you guys, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think so. And even go back to last year, I was on some podcast, I forgot which one it was, but I was like, West Virginia, whenever West Virginia came out as the bottom team in the Big 12 in the preseason poll or whatever, I was like, there are a bunch of newcomers in the league. West Virginia's not going to finish last.
No.
And that was proven obvious rather quickly. But yeah, I think, West Virginia's right up there. I think maybe the view on them in at least the state of Oklahoma is maybe they're on that second tier of contenders. I think right now Oklahoma State people are kind of looking at OSU, Utah, Kansas State, and then maybe you drop down a tier. You got your Kansases, Iowa State, depending on kind of some back and forth and maybe what could happen there with Rocco Beck coming back. So I think they're viewed as highly, but maybe not direct contenders. But the Big 12, it looks like it's going to be such a crazy. I forgot Arizona as well. Big 12 looks like it's going to be so crazy this year that anybody. I don't think you got to be surprised with anybody contending this year.
Maybe Colorado.
Yep.
You just never know what they're going to do in year 2. So
Arizona's going to be good. Could be good.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Change flips my mind.
Right. Same here. You don't know what to expect with that. And I'll be honest with you. I'm anxious to see how losing Andy Kotelnicki is going to impact Kansas, because
It's a
I
great
think
call.
I think he's a huge reason for their success there.
Yeah.
I
And
think
Penn
it's
State.
very yeah.
for us, you know.
So I think I got they've got the talent to be good again, but will that coaching change? How will that coaching change affect them? But Marshall, I wanted to ask you real quick about what is the feeling around Oklahoma State about the AD there? I'm not even sure of his name. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But what's the feeling around the athletic? I know there was some controversy around him taking so long to hire a basketball coach, but that seems to have died down. So what's the temperature like now?
Yeah, so Chad Weiberg's his name. He's an Oklahoma State guy through and through. Remember the 10 plane crash? Chad, actually, one of his brothers died in that plane crash. So he is Oklahoma State, to the core, really. And yeah, I think there was a little bit of heat just towards, kind of the end of Boynton's tenure. People didn't think that, like, hey, you've got to make a decision on this guy. Some people were like, you've got to fire him, and then obviously he does fire him. And those people who wanted that to happen were like, okay, Chad is serious. But then I think maybe as the process of hiring Lutz kind of drug out, maybe some more of those people were like, all right, is Chad the guy? But then makes a hire that everybody's, positive about. So I think that's just kind of the way that, social media and everything is. It kind of comes in waves where it goes up and down. But Chad's a great guy, really awesome person, and really is just so Oklahoma State that I couldn't imagine him being on any sort of hot seat anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know from us West Virginia fans whose AD is from Oklahoma.
We love Ren Baker.
Who we love. So he's already we've got fans on social media saying he might be the best hire ever at West Virginia. And he's been here barely over a year. So, needless to say,
he's pulled off some miracles.
Yeah.
It's
heck, even our golf team our golf team's excellent. Our friggin' wrestling team's good. Our baseball team's good. Football team's better. Basketball team is, obviously we had that hiccup there, but that wasn't his fault.
But the DeVries hire, I feel like people are
Yeah.
underestimating, because Oklahoma State would have hired him over Lutz, correct?
It's hard for me to say, just because Weiberg's process was so under wraps. Like, nobody knew anything really. Anything that was coming out was from the coaching, like, agent side. But it seemed like that they were in on DeVries, that they were at least interested in DeVries.
Right.
And then obviously West Virginia goes out and gets him. And I think that's kind of whenever things started locking in on Steve Lutz.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody was in on Dusty May first. I think that's well known.
Yeah.
And he's done well at Michigan. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
he's putting together a good squad over there. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I like Dusty. I think he's good for the sport. A lot of people behind the scenes say he does it the right way over there. They're not, he's not really the tampering type, which I like, but
that's where
everybody does it to an extent, I'm sure. But Mike
Boynton, he's on Dusty May's staff. He's an assistant now. So
I saw that was a great hire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that's exactly the type of hire you would think would benefit. Did they get any Oklahoma State kids?
No, they didn't, which I thought kind of surprising. I thought maybe Small would be, rumored to go there. I know that Eric Daly was
academics are so tough there. I don't know what Small was.
Yeah,
but
I don't either. But Eric Daly was a big Mike Boynton guy, but he ended up going out to UCLA. And then Brandon Garrison ends up at Kentucky, and he was a big Boynton guy. But whenever Kentucky comes calling, it doesn't really feel like that much of a slight whenever he goes to another school.
No,
right.
No, we've had somebody go to Kentucky from West Virginia 3 straight years.
And they end up being
all
good
really,
too.
really good players. They would all start at anywhere in America. Oscar Sheboy obviously is the big one. Probably should have been the National Player of the Year 3 times in his career. Trey Mitchell, which he was in the Big 12.
Yeah,
played well for us, and then obviously Kirk Risa is there now.
Yeah,
so all really good players.
West Virginia fans are not real happy with Kentucky, but those guys were going to leave anyway. So
yeah, I don't care where they go after.
I don't really blame Kentucky.
And Mark Pope seems fun. He seems like
he does.
Change of pace, so.
Yeah, he's got some funny gifts out there already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a good hire for Kentucky, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like the video, guys. As always, don't forget to subscribe to Hoops from the Hills. Coos and I have been doing this for a year and a half now, and we're proud of the little community we built here, and hope to continue to grow that. I've made substantial progress, as has Coos, on we're other than Tucker DeVries. We have Tucker DeVries coming on the 13th. We're very excited about that. To have somebody of his caliber, a 2-time player of the year, and probably an NBA pick. We're very excited to have him on the 13th. But I've made headway with other players. That's all I can say right now. We're going to do the Tucker thing first, and then we'll talk about those other players. But get ready. We're about to have more and more and more on this show, guys. So we're excited about that. And at the same time, it helps the players with NIL. So we're excited about it. We're really just over the moon.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've couldn't be happier. I mean, it's Paul's put in a lot of work. I've put in some work, and we're proud of what we've done, but we couldn't do any of it without the support. So got to give a shout out there, all of our listeners and watchers out there. And I'm sure that Marshall can relate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Without people watching, none of this makes any sense at all. So we're just talking into nothing.
Absolutely, man.
The big nothing. You remember that show when you might be, how old are you, Marshall?
I'm 28.
28. You
He's
might
a
be
kid.
too young. You don't remember the show, the movie back when we were kids, Coos, what was it called? Where the nothing was coming after him? Land Before Time? No. Is that it?
I don't. You got me there, man.
With Atreyu, he opens up the book. He gets transfused. He rides that white.
I think that might be. I think that. Yeah. I think that. No. I think that's
what was
it.
it called?
I think it's The Land Before Time. I think you're right.
Never Ending Story. Yeah, that's it.
I think Land Before Time is about dinosaurs.
Yeah, the Land Before
Never
Time
Ending
is
Story.
about
You're
dinosaurs.
right. I didn't watch the Never Ending Story when I was a kid because it looked. It just wasn't my thing. But I do remember when you said writing. That image is always in my mind. So.
Yeah, when he said the nothing, we see that's what what was coming after that was destroying the earth. The nothing.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Well, I don't really have anything else for Marshall. Paul, do you have any other questions?
Guys, get over to Pistols, guys. Just shoot him a follow. We got 90 in here. It's not as many as we have had. I think it's probably the time. We went earlier today than we usually do. But, if we can get 20 or 30 of you guys over there to follow them guys at Pistols Guys for Oklahoma State News, it would be productive, So do that for us if you can.
And by the way, we forget to do this a lot. If you're watching on X, we thank you. Appreciate the support there as well. Be sure to come over, check us out on YouTube so you can see our past videos, the pre-recorded stuff we've done, and our past live shows as well.
Oh, yeah. I'll be doing a watch party, guys, at 6:45 on Mountaineer Paul Talks Football jersey reveal. The black uniforms are coming back to West Virginia for the first time in over a decade. We're super stoked about it. What design did they come up with Nike? We're going to find out at 7 o'clock. Coming to Mountaineer Paul at 6:45. We'll talk a little bit of football as we lead up to that. We'll screen share the West Virginia social media account as that goes live, and we'll see it together.
Yeah, I wish I could be there for that. I have basketball practice again tonight with my girls, so that's where I'll be. I'll be in the gym blowing a whistle. But it's fun. I love it. Little story, and then we'll go. Marshall, did you know Golden Blue Dude?
I did. I actually watched some of all you guys' stuff.
He passed away about a year ago. It was a year ago this month, or in April, actually. He talked, I don't know how many different times he and I talked about him wanting West Virginia to come out with a coal mine theme entrance and wear black uniforms. And I mean, today when I saw that announcement, I almost got a little teary eyed because I thought of him and how happy he would be right now, or how happy he is, I should say. I'm sure he's looking down on us, but the smile he would have on his face when this news broke, man, it's pretty cool stuff.
That is awesome, Coos. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. Give a shout out to Sasquatch 304 for the super chat, $20. Thanks for joining Marshall, and as always, like, sub, and shop Dutch Miller. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of good uniforms out in the Big 12 this year. There's been a lot of fun releases these last couple of days. So
Iowa State had an interesting one. Was it yesterday? They come out with their blues are coming back, I think.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a huge fan of, but that's me.
Yeah.
I guess as long as Iowa State fans like it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I like the logo maybe more than the uniforms itself with
I agree.
the helmet. But
Yep. I did like the logo. I did like that. But anyway, Paul, you got anything else, man?
No, that's at 6:45, guys. I'll see you there at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Other than that, Sasquatch, you know you're the man. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, this has been another episode of Hoops on the Hills. Thank you. Don't forget to check everybody out that participated today. Marshall especially. We really appreciate his time. Keep coming back, guys. And if any news breaks, I'll be home all day. So if any news breaks, I'll come back and do a live. All right, guys. Hope to see you next time. This episode is over. We are out.